Please welcome to the stage CEO and founder Gusto, Josh Reeves. CTO Gusto, Eddie Kim.
Hello, hello. Welcome. Hello, SaaStr. How's everyone doing?
SaaStr!
We're excited to be here. It's not our first time. I think since I was last here, my family, we had 2 more kids. So the family grows, the company grows, all in the right direction. I'm Josh, CEO, co-founder of Gusto. This is
Eddie, the co-founder and CTO at Gusto.
And so we're really excited to talk about some of our learnings, lessons in the context of building Gusto, and especially with a focus and a lens on AI. But I want to start by mentioning, what is Gusto and also what are we most proud of? We're proud to serve over 400,000 companies today. Do we have any customers in the audience? We're honored to serve you. If you ever have feedback on how we can get better, please let us know. But this is our due north. When we think about technology tools, AI is a tool, it's a technology. We don't use it for the sake of it. And a big part of our mission at Gusto is how do we bring the best possible technologies, tools to small business in particular to make their life easier and better. A lot of companies, especially here, will focus on larger enterprise. We really see huge opportunity and huge need in helping and serving small business especially. So with that backdrop, we're going to get a lot into AI technology, some of the stuff we've learned, built, how we approached it. But I really wanted to start by really getting to the core of a belief we have at Gusto, and maybe hopefully many of you share, which is companies don't exist for the sake of it. Gusto, we did not start this company for our benefit. We exist to go fix something, to go serve our customer and solve a pain point in their life. When we think about the journey of a small business owner, especially, a huge amount of that pain ties to compliance. It ties to the different rules, requirements, regulations, local, state, federal. The US in particular is more like 50 countries than one when it comes to all the different rules and requirements a business owner has to navigate and go through. And so our discussion isn't about how can we go use AI for the sake of it. It's in particular things like compliance and all those rules and requirements. How can we make that easier, simpler, so that a business owner doesn't have to worry about those details in the journey of growing their company? So there's 2 tracks to the conversation we're going to go through, and this is how we really think about the way this shows up for our actions. One is that we are, I think, in our view, navigating a pretty massive paradigm shift in how software gets used. So we would call this, we didn't invent the term, but we describe it as the conversational interface paradigm shift. And I think all of us are familiar with using web workflows, whether it's in a native mobile app, on a desktop, in a laptop. The power of a conversational interface is that it is more accessible, more intuitive, and for a lot of different tasks, it actually is just a better experience to have the customer, and we've all used ChatGPT, Gemini, et cetera. You just kind of start talking and saying what you need and want. And the software, you don't have to figure out where to click. You don't have to figure out which page to navigate to. You don't have to figure out which flow to go through, even if it's simple and easy. You just literally say and tell what you want, or the system asks you, prompts you, and it creates a more guided, more intuitive journey. Now, in our view, this doesn't replace all types of software. To be clear, we're investing a lot of time in the Gusto web app, in our mobile app. You're going to hear shortly about Gus, which is our conversational interface. We think they work in conjunction with each other, but the whole point is to make the use of software, the use of Gusto, easier, more intuitive, and simpler for, again, a business owner who's really busy, really strapped for time, doing 20 different tasks, and obviously wants help to do it faster. The second track we'll talk about is automation. And that's just the ability to literally take tasks or jobs and automate them, whether it's for Gusties, which is what we call ourselves, so members of our team, we'll talk about that, or for our customers, where think about something you spend 5, 10 minutes on. If it could just be done automatically for you, time savings is cost savings for a business owner, and that's also very magical. So with that, we're going to dive into conversational interface, and I'm going to pass over to Eddie.
I'm really excited to tell you all about Gus today. You could think about Gus as your small business's executive assistant. And Gus is not just any normal chatbot. Of course, it's going to do things like answer questions that you might have about Gusto, but it does a lot more than that as well. Gus can generate any number of reports for you, and then also take it a step further to analyze those reports and give you some really critical insights about your business. It can also save you time by you telling Gus what you wanted to do. So for example, if you tell Gus, hey Gus, I'd like to approve Sally's time off request, Gus will look up Sally's time off request, give you some details about the dates, and ask you to confirm that approval. And if you say yes, Gus will, on your behalf, approve those time off requests. There's also tens of thousands of compliance rules that apply to small businesses. And it's really hard to know as a small business which ones apply to your specific business. But because Gusto has so much information about our small businesses, Gus is able to tell you exactly which ones apply to you. One of the things that we offer is scheduling. So we help tens and hundreds of thousands of small businesses with setting shift schedules for their hourly workers. Now, there's actually a lot of compliance behind how to set shift schedules. For example, what kind of breaks you need to give them, how long they need to work between breaks, how long they're allowed to work in a single day or across the course of an entire week. Gus, if you just ask it to, will set up the ideal shift schedule for your small business, and then you can sort of tweak it afterwards. So Gus is already being used by hundreds of thousands of small businesses to save them time, to help them get critical business insights, and to help them to stay compliant. And I'm happy to announce that as of last week, Gus is generally available to every single one of our customers on Gusto's platform. I'm really excited because over the past 10, 20 years, we've seen it become easier and easier to start and run a small business. And I'm proud to say that Gusto is a big part of what's enabled that. But at the end of the day, with all these amazing SaaS tools that have proliferated over the past 10 to 20 years, it's still someone that needs to operate all of that software. And our goal with Gus is to take as much of that work as possible so that you, the small business owner, can just spend as much time on the things that you love about your business. So how did we actually build Gus? I'm sure you're interested in hearing a little bit of how we actually built this internally. We knew that we needed to iterate very, very quickly. We needed to have a very high rate of experimentation. And any sort of previous notions of how to build traditional SaaS-based software that's primarily graphical-based, many of those assumptions had to get thrown out. And so what we did was actually create a startup within a startup. And there are many companies that have done this before, and especially large companies sometimes call this innovation labs. But what I've observed is that they largely operate in a similar way as other teams within that company. We really embraced this startup within a startup mindset. Of course, we started with a brand new code base from scratch, but we also politely excused ourselves from many of our engineering team's rituals and processes. And it wasn't even until recently that we actually started to track our work in things like Jira and Asana. And before that, we would just sort of sit all together in a room, talk about what are the most important things for us to work on, and by the end of the week, we would ship it and do that again the following week. It wasn't necessary for us to have heavyweight project tracking processes. Another thing that we had to learn was how to know what problems not to solve. There's problems that are specific to Gusto that we knew that weren't going to get solved on their own. And then on the other hand, there are problems that we knew that because the world of AI and the technology is advancing so quickly, those problems, we were making a bet, would get solved on its own through the natural progression of this technology. And so we had to be really disciplined about telling ourselves, even though these are both important sets of problems, which problems should we be focusing on, and which problems are we okay with not solving right now? So what have we learned in building Gus? I would talk about three things to you right now. One is that although our vision for what problems we want to solve for the next few years is very, very clear, it's crystal clear, the roadmap of what we're building cannot be more than 90 days out because we're learning so much right now. We're experimenting, and every 3 months we learn something completely new about the sorts of things that we need to actually build as part of Gus. And so we had to stay really disciplined about just staying hyper-focused on the next 90 days and not trying to draw out too many plans beyond that. The second thing that we learned is that while it is really important to instrument your product, see how people are using it, use tools like Datadog and Full Story to see how customers are using your SaaS product, it's even more important to observe what customers are not doing on your product. And in particular, I think it's really important to observe what they're doing right before they actually start using your product. Sometimes I like to call this, what is the work before the work? What's the work that they're doing to prepare everything before they start using your SaaS product? And that is a goldmine of problems that you can be solving for your customers. And finally, what we learned is that there is no single interface to rule them all. With the advent of AI, there's so many things that are done better conversationally now. But not everything is done better conversationally. In fact, there are many things that are a lot better done graphically. And so we think that the future interface is a hybrid approach, that it's at the right moments, at the right time, depending on the right task. It is sometimes conversational and sometimes graphical. The ideal interface is a hybrid between those two.
Thanks, Eddie. And maybe one thing I'll add on the prior slide. So we've talked about, as a company for a long time, our goal to be not a tool, but an opinionated partner that helps to guide our customer. With this technology in particular, and with Gus, and I hope many of you have a chance to explore and use it, it feels like we're getting much, much closer to that ideal of not just us, but software in general, being more like a teammate, more like a partner, helping you navigate complex tasks, taking 5 or 10 hats off your head, making your life easier and simpler. It always bothered me when we would use software. I remember back in school, and it was like you had to learn how to use it. You had to train yourself. You had to kind of read a book or a manual. Software done right should be there to give you superpowers. And again, this feels like a big part of what is being unlocked here. So we talked a bit about the customer impact with conversational interface. That's what we call Gus at Gusto. On top of that, there's a lot of other really interesting, I think, moving parts here. In particular, we have a large team of Gusties that do customer support, that do operations. Maybe some of your companies have similar dynamics. And what's really fun is this tool, this technology, we have an internal version as well, is really giving those folks superpowers so that, to put business terms against it, productivity can grow, right? You can now do more tasks more easily. You can access information more quickly. You're less copy-pasting stuff in Google Docs between sheets, et cetera. Things get pre-populated more quickly, and that saves time and lets us go provide a better experience to our customers. So that's one track of a lot of work underway at Gusto. Another is, and this is a beautiful dynamic of 24/7 self-serve, the way that customers interact with our help center, the way that they can go get the information they need. If they don't want to call in, they want to just get that more quickly. We all know, hopefully at this point it's table stakes, but these tools have made help centers dramatically more efficient, more effective, better at getting you the information you need and want. And then the last bucket is really fun. In our world, it's not just software. We're doing tax filings, tax payments. We're doing tax resolution. We're doing a bunch of health insurance enrollment. All these different third parties, organizations, they send us documents, materials. Automation is just literally training your AI to basically do that for you. So tax notices is a good case study. We have a tax notice team at Gusto. Today, over half the tax notices that come into the team get automatically, flagged, organized, categorized, and then resolved without a human being involved whatsoever. And there's probably examples in your companies that map to this as well. That also is a fantastic benefit to the customer. It's faster, it's easier, and the people involved can then focus on more complex cases. So kind of just to highlight these different buckets, productivity growing, I think is a good thing for society, for the economy, definitely for a company. The better customer experience is obviously the due north. from a business running a company lens, what it literally means is we have more operating margin to reinvest into new products, into improving the experience. Gusto's been free cash flow positive for several years. We think if you're at the scale we're at, running a good business means you generate revenue, you generate free cash flow, you reinvest that, you build better product, you serve the customer better. And this technology basically adds to that flywheel. So kind of getting close to wrapping here, one of the biggest things that I find really exciting about working in tech, and since you're all here, I'm assuming you either work in tech or plan to work in tech, it's that the building blocks constantly are changing. So Gusto, we started the company with one other co-founder who's just as involved, just as actively engaged as we are. If two of us are on stage, that means he's back in the office cranking so that at least one of us is, building the company while we're here talking. But we started the company 14 years ago, and I used to say back then, on the technology front, we were going to leverage cloud, paperless, mobile as these tailwinds. We didn't invent those technologies, but we were going to bring the benefits of those technologies to small business. And on go-to-market, I would say we're going to leverage social and search, right? These are new paradigms that 15 years ago today are table stakes, and that was a big part of our unlock to even get to the scale we're at today. AI is now a part of that, and there's going to be more in the future. And so the mindset here as a company builder is how do you not predict the future, because no one has a crystal ball, but how do you stay on top of obsessively what the trends are, what the different technologies are, and then back to where we started. It's not using technology for the sake of it. It's you're looking at a customer problem, a customer pain point in our life that's all about small businesses, that's all about compliance, it's all about the stuff that takes up a lot of time and energy, that takes them away from building their products or helping build their team better. And then if you think that technology can be a way for you to go make that pain go away, to improve the quality of your experience, that's a fantastic reason to dive in. So hopefully you all now understand the journey we've been on. AI as a tool for us to use at Gusto started multiple years ago. We're excited to be at the place we are today with Gus and many more things coming down the pipe. And we're grateful to all of you to have joined. Thank you so much.